In this Mash Bite, we'll delve into some effective strategies to help you adapt coding activities for your learners. First, we'll take a look at how you can create prompt or code comprehension sheets, and then we'll go on to take a look at how you can produce alternative versions of activities to perhaps provide more or less support for your learners. Research tells us that coding places a huge amount of cognitive load on children. By giving the children sheets which are prompt, we can support them through the lesson, and if we can combine those sheets with a comprehension, we can deepen their understanding as well. This was part of an activity which ran over 2 lessons at the start of the coding unit in Year 6. Following the first lesson, I noticed a few issues in the children's thinking which came up several times. So as I was preparing for the second lesson, I created some code which reflected some of those issues, and you can see that here on the screen. Now, I use this code as screenshots into a Word document to build a comprehension activity, which when the children have the correct answers, it will serve as a prompt sheet for them in the lesson. I've got one here about the timer code doesn't work. It's meant to subtract 1 if the time is more than 0, or else restart the game. So I'm explaining in this one what the piece of code should be doing, and I'm putting into capitals the key words from the code here, the if and the else. Now, I wanted to just show you quickly how I can screenshot from the code really easily and quickly into Word. Find it by clicking on the Insert tab at the top here, and then I'm going to select Screenshot and Screen Clipping, and this will minimize Word and put a kind of fog over the screen, and I can now just click and drag over the bit that I want to copy into my document. Just carefully get the right lines in there. Okay, that's good. And then, as you can see, it's dropped it straight into Word for me, so I can just resize this now, make it a little bit smaller so it'll fit on the page. If I was putting text beside this, I may need to click here just to say that I want square text wrapping. And what I'm hoping the children can do with this one here is to maybe, just write alongside it, purple pen it, whatever, but just edit this to show that they understand how to get this code changed so it'll do what is intended. And then I'll print this sheet out, and we'll use this sheet at the start of the lesson. So before we even go near a computer, we're going to have a little review. Here's some issues that cropped up last week that you need to know about in order to succeed today. And take this sheet with you down to the computer suite, because it is also your reminder sheet as well. So I'm trying to sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, really, to number 1, give them the reminder, and number 2, check that they've got a good sense of the comprehension and code understanding that they're going to need for the activity. We can easily create alternative activities in Purple Mash. Perhaps you'd like to provide a version which has more code given so that it's more supportive, or take some code away so that it's more challenging, or maybe you'd like to give a finished version which is broken and needs debugging. The activity that I've already mentioned, which is in Year 6 Unit 1 of the Scheme of Work, suggests that children begin with a blank canvas, so just using free code Gorilla from within 2 Code. So they'd have no code on the screen here at all, and if we click onto design mode, they'd be faced with a completely blank canvas. That can be a little bit too much for some children, and we might want to give them a bit more of a head start. So we can end up giving them something like this, where I've already put some broccoli in space here, which is going to start flying around when I click run. And the idea of this game is that you have to click on the broccoli to get a score. But at the moment you can see the timer here isn't going down, and the score doesn't do anything if I click on a broccoli, and the broccoli doesn't do anything either if I click on it. It still needs work doing to it, but it doesn't need all of that initial setting up, which can be time consuming. So I'm going to swap back to the blank canvas and show you how I got to that stage there. And remember, you can do this in anything in Purple Mash, it's not just in 2 Code. To begin with, I've opened up free code Gorilla here, and I'm going to click down at the bottom to choose a background. Now I have a background. I needed to put on some pieces of broccoli. So for this, I was just going to choose an object. I'm going to change the image on it by clicking in the object attributes down here. Now, I'm going to be a little bit clever with this because what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tags on it. So I'm going to get rid of the object tag and I'm going to give it a broccoli tag because this will come in really handy later on, as you'll see. And I'm going to give it some movement. So this one here, rather than it saying stopped, I'm going to say this one's going left. And now that I've got the tag set up and a bit of movement on it, I'm going to click on the clone button and we'll have some more of these. Here, when I click run, they all move left together. So I'm just going to go through some of these now and change the direction of movement on them. Happy with that? That's great. What I want to do now is add on some numbers and some labels. And with these, I'm just going to change it so one of them is called timer, and while I've got that one highlighted, I'm going to go over here and give it a sensible name like timer label, so the children will know what it is in the objects when they're coding. And this one here, I'm going to put in here score, and same with it. Then I'm also going to add some numbers. So we'll have a number down here, which will be the timer, and we'll have another number which I'll drag in down here, which is going to be the score. So for the score, I want this to start at 0, so I'm checking that its initial value here is 0. That's great. And for a name, I'm going to call this the score number, so we know that we know what it is. Then for the timer, I'm going to say that the starting value for this could be, I don't know, 20 seconds or 20. I'm going to give it the name timer number, just so that children know what it is. That's great. Now I've got my design set up. It's ready to be brought to life with code. So let's click into the C code section here. And within here, what kind of things do I want to give the children to begin with? I can take a look at the answer sheets that are provided in the scheme of work or within the two code folders themselves. And from there, I can build up an idea of what I want to give the children to start with. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I've given them a head start, but there's still quite a lot to be done here. So how do I get this to them as a to-do? I'm going to go to the menu in the top left-hand corner here. I'm going to click on Save initially. I'm going to save it into my work folder. So I could call this one here 611. I could call this support. I think I might already have one. So I'm going to call it 611 support 2 and I'll save it. What I could do now is I could close this down and come back to it at a later date to set it as a to-do. Or if I want to set it as a to-do now, I'm just going to click on the menu here, go to Share, and because I've already saved it and not changed it since, it's not asking me to save it again. So I can just go ahead and click the Set as a to-do button, and I'm into my usual to-do setting process here. And what I could do here is just call this 611 splatty game finish off. So this is just letting the children know that this to-do is not the blank canvas one, this is the one where they've got something started and it's ready to finish off. I often set the two of these both together so that children can start off on the trickier, less supportive activity if they want to, but they've always got the choice of falling back onto this one if they needed to, or if I tell them that they need to. Don't forget with this, click onto classes, and within here I could click onto a class name here, and it would open up and give me the list of the names of the children in that class, and I could just set the to-do for 5 or 6 children if that was what I wanted to do. Adapting coding activities using strategies like these can help to support and challenge a wider range of learners. So why don't you explore these ideas and find out what works best with your class? Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.